Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the fourth dimension. Now, as you all know, we live in a three-dimensional universe. The fact that we live in a three-dimensional universe theoretically means that we have a first, second, third, us, and the fourth dimension. But as human beings, we know that everything has a beginning and an end. So there's also a zero dimension or a dimension with no dimensions. However, that sort of thinking makes the whole human experience a bit weird because religion and science doesn't really explain to the fullest how the universe began. If there was nothing, never mind. That's a whole different topic. So what we're talking about today is dimensions, and we want to emphasize on the fourth dimension and why it is kind of impossible for us as three-dimensional beings to perceive the fourth dimension. So in order to get there, we're going to start by going through all the dimensions. We're going to start with the first dimension, which is not actually the first dimension, but what we call the zero dimension. It's a dimension where you cannot move forward, backward, left, right, up. You can't move anywhere. It's a dimension frozen in time. So I believe that time is not a dimension because so many people have this theory that the fourth dimension might actually be time. Now, I thought it was size, but we'll get there. It's not size, it's not time, it's something that we cannot perceive. It's basically like trying to imagine a color that you've never seen before. Close your eyes right now and try and picture a whole different color that you've never seen, a color that has no name. Now, it doesn't have to be a shade of a color that we know, no, it has to be a whole new color, a color with its own shade and whatnot. So, the zero dimension. In science, we see this as a dot. As you can see on the screen, there's just a dot. Now imagine as a zero-dimensional being, you'd be in this dot without being able to move forward, backward, left, right, up or down. It's like Doctor Strange trapped in his own universe. It's basically kind of like a picture. Yeah. So another thing we need to know is that as the dimensions get higher, it's just a compilation of the lower dimensions. For example, the zero dimension was a dot. Now, if you add dots to each other, maybe a compilation of dots, what do you end up getting? A line. Now, a line is what we call the first dimension. Let's get into that right now. So this is the fourth dimension. Now, imagine this as a tunnel in Minecraft. It's the exact same size as your body in Minecraft. So the space you can walk through, you can't move left, you can't move right, you can't jump, you can't go down. No, all you can do is move forward and backward. Now, the way we see this line, it looks like all you can do is move from side to side. But somebody living in a dimension like this would only be able to see forward and backward. Well, he might be able to see left and right, but he can't move in those positions. Like I said, imagine a tunnel that's the same size as you. All you can do is move forward and backward. That is the first dimension. Now, why I say that the zero dimension has no time is because I believe time is what helps us move from one dimension to the other. We know that the first dimension is just a compilation of zero dimensions together. So in order to move from one zero dimension to another zero dimension, I believe you need time. Because if there's no time, then you'll be stuck, just like you are in the zero dimension. Now, let's move forward and move to the second dimension. Now, this dimension is a little bit better than the first dimension. At least you can move left and right. So let me show it to you one more time. This is the image. Now, imagine there's a dot somewhere in this plane. Now, this dot, let's say the cursor is the dot. It could move forward, it could move backward, it could move left and right. But there's no way that that dot can jump out of this plane. So we have two directions. Forward and backward, left and right. We can't move up and down, not yet, because we haven't yet got to the third dimension. That's what the second dimension is. Now, for the third dimension, for our dimension, for example, we have all three vectors. We can move forward, backwards, left, right, up and down, obviously, because you know that. We're going to stick a little more to this dimension before we move on because there's a lot we have to talk about. Firstly, people think that as three-dimensional beings, we see in three dimensions, which is not accurate. Every dimension, every being in every dimension sees in a dimension lower. For example, as three-dimensional beings, we only see things in two dimensions. Now, you may argue and say, oh, I see the chair, it has edges, it has shadows, it has whatnot. It's in three dimensions. I can walk around it, obviously. But when you're walking around an object, you're not seeing the object in three dimensions. You're just seeing the object in different angles of two dimensions. The reason we perceive things as being in three dimensions is either due to shadows or the fact that we can see the curvature of it or whatnot. But if you take a picture in the exact same position that you're in, the picture will show you exactly what you see, and we all know pictures are in two dimensions. Now the shadows in 3 dimension are 2 dimensional. You know your shadow is always on something, either on the wall, on the floor, but when you see it, you know it's 2 dimension. This is where the 4th dimension varies from us. In the 4th dimension, shadows are now in 3D, but we can't really understand what the 4th dimension is, to be honest. So, like I said before, it's like trying to picture something you've never seen before, you know? Let's move on. In the 4th dimension, we have more than 3 vectors. We can move forward, backwards, left, right, up and down, and one more, but we don't know what. Why I thought this was size is because in size, you could be in the same position, just grow bigger and smaller. There's no need to move left, right, up, down, backwards, or forwards. That's what the 4th dimension is. The 4th dimension is the ability to move in a direction that's adjacent to forward, backward, left, right, up, and down at the same time. So imagine an object here in this space. It's not going to move left, it's not going to move right, it's not going to go up, down, backwards, or forward. No, it's going to move in a direction without affecting all those 3 vectors. What direction is that? We have no idea. We cannot even begin to perceive it. So everything we've shown up to now shows us different dimensions. This is what a dot would look like in the 4th dimension. This is what the 4th dimension is. This is why I was confused thinking that it was size, but this is a 3D representation of the 4th dimension. And as 3D beings, we only see this in 2D. So there's no way we can understand what a 4th-dimensional object or a 4th-dimensional being looks like. Now let's go back up. I'm going to show you something. For example, this here is 2 dimension. That's what we see in. As a 3-dimensional beings, we can see everything that's going on right here. We can see the left side, the right side, up, down. We can see inside the circle. It might be above, but if the circle was hollow, we'll be able to see inside it. Now that's exactly the same for 4th-dimensional beings. 4th-dimensional beings will be able to see us like this cube right here. Now this cube, we can argue that we can see inside the cube because it's a 2-dimensional representation of the cube. But if there was a cube right here on the table, you'll be able to see what you're seeing, just the surface, but you won't be able to see what's inside the cube. As a 4th-dimensional being, you'll be able to see all sides of that cube, inside and outside, by just looking at it from one position. Now, I don't know how it works. I don't know how I'm going to begin to explain all this to you, but that's my understanding of the 4th-dimension. And the 5th-dimension is even worse because we don't even want to try to get there. So, yeah, 4th-dimension. It's a very interesting topic, and I will try to release more videos on it if this video passes the perfect, I don't know, that, hey, 4th-dimension.